Hey, second grade. So we are still learning about rocks and sand. When I saw you last time, we learned about Mohs hardness scale. And if you didn't watch that, it's one of my favorites. You should really watch it. It's funny. We talked about Mo. Hey, yo, my name is Mo and I want to buy a rock for my girl Flo, don't you know? And he buys her talc. And anyway, Mohs is the one that said that there was a hardness scale, that diamonds are a 10, girl's best friend, and talc is a 1. That was Mohs. We also learned that there are 3 kinds of rocks: metamorphic, igneous, and sedimentary. Metamorphic means that it was changed over time. Igneous means it was on fire. And sedimentary means that it's settled over time. We know that sand, if it is too small to be called sand, it is silt. And if it is too big, we call that gravel. So today I am combining a couple of my favorite things. I have learned about focaccia over this quarantine, and I'm going to tell you, focaccia is amazing and it is so easy to make. Why are we learning about focaccia? Well, here's the deal. I want you to know about how rocks are made, or how they're formed, and how do we get sand, and what do you think? How do we get sand? Well, sand is when bigger rocks or seashells break down, okay? When we have this big rock and it breaks down over and over and over, it can get as small as sand. But also, if we have a great big mountain, if it breaks, we can get smaller and smaller rocks. So scientists have a couple words for that. They say that when something breaks, when rocks break, that is called weathering. Now, funny, if I spell out break, B-R-E-A-K, and I spell out weathering, W-E-A-T-H-E-R-I-N-G, they both have an E-A in the middle. So break, weathering, break, weathering. Weathering means to break over time. So the elements can make that happen. Gravity can pull rocks down the mountain, and when they bump together over and over and over, they can break into smaller pieces. When the waves crash up on the shore, it can break it into smaller pieces. So weathering is the process of how rocks break down. That's weathering, okay? Now the other component is erosion. And when we walked in the upper school woods, we saw some erosion. Remember how all we saw those roots that were in the river, in the little stream there? We saw those tree roots because of erosion. The water pushed all of that dirt away. And when erosion happens, it moves the dirt someplace else. We saw when we walked around that little corner in the woods that there was a place where the water wasn't moving so much. And we looked at the water and we talked about it there, and we said that there was more sand that was there. Well, that is because the river deposited the sand there. It left it there. So weathering breaks it, erosion moves it, and deposition drops it. They all work together: weathering, erosion, deposition. Okay, so let me get back to my focaccia bread, right? This is what I want to show you. Focaccia bread is so easy to make. You're gonna love it. 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. That's the brown stuff on the top. Why am I doing this? Well, because I wanted to show you erosion, and I didn't want you to go dig a bucket of stuff out in your yard. And I'm sure your mom and dad appreciate that. And if you make some focaccia, it's delicious. So in here, I have flour and I have salt and I have yeast. Now, if I tip my bowl, it is moving because of gravity, okay? That's erosion because of gravity. But watch. Here, I'm going to add my water. The focaccia needs a cup of water. So watch what's going to happen. Oh, did you see that? It moved because of water. That's another form of erosion out in the world. So that if I had a river or if I had a waterfall, it would move it. The water would move it. That is erosion. The other thing is that I could have gravity move it. I could have water. I could have wind, a big strong wind, It could move sand. It could move beach sand. That's erosion, the movement. I'm going to finish adding my water to this focaccia. This will go into the refrigerator. It makes a nice batter. It's a little bit sticky, but I'll show you. Here you go. So I just added a cup of water to that. I stir it all in. That was 2 cups of flour, a teaspoon of salt, and 1 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. And yeast is what makes bread rise. All right, so this is yeast. It had 1 1/4 teaspoons of yeast, teaspoon of salt, 2 cups of flour, and 1 cup of water. So now I have mushed it all together into a bowl, and this will go in the refrigerator for 8 hours. Okay, so boys and girls, I showed you erosion. Now, here's the deal. I have some focaccia that's a little bit older. I'm telling you, we love it here. This is a little bit older. Now, when I poured that water in, I was showing erosion. This is breaking and it's falling into my pan. That, when it's breaking, that is weathering. So weathering can happen by the rocks bumping into each other over and over. And then you can see that even smaller pieces are breaking off right here. See that? There they go. They are breaking off. That's weathering, the breaking down of rocks. Brought to you by Homemade Focaccia. It smells so good.